Western Heights friends and family. If you know anything about preachers, you know that we love to go to certain texts that really just seem so rich that we go to these quite often. Well, bear with me because I'm going to do that today. The text we're going to head to is John 13. It starts this way. It says, "It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that his hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end." The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already entered Judas Iscariot to betray him. Jesus knew that his Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So, because of that, he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, wrapped the towel around his waist, and after that he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with this story. You've heard it a time or two, no doubt. But as it progresses, Jesus seems to go around and wash all the feet, and then he gets to Peter. And Peter says, "Hey, wait, not so, Lord. I should be washing your feet." And then they get into a little argument, as it were, and Jesus says, "Hey, if I can't wash you, you don't have any part of me." To which Peter replies, "Oh, hold on, Lord, then wash every bit of me. I want every part of you." And Jesus says, "Nah, you're missing the point." So to get to the point, Jesus says in verse 12, "Do you understand what I've done for you? You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you." Jesus is giving us an example of what it means to lead. He says, "You call me Lord and Savior, and rightfully so." Jesus is the ultimate leader. I mean, we may think CEOs, we may think presidents, we may think people in charge are the ones that they get to do what they want to do. And everyone else just has to kind of bend to their will. But not so with Jesus. You see, Jesus says, "I am your Lord and Savior. I have the ultimate leadership role, yet I serve. And if I serve, how much more should you serve?" See, Jesus is giving us a picture of what it truly means to be in Him, what it truly means to be a Christian. See, every Christian leads in some way, shape, or form. But this leading needs to be balanced and even understood through our service. That these two things that seem diametrically opposed are not. They are bound together. Even though there's tension in between them, that is fine. The tension is fine. They are bound together. In fact, a poet by the name of Philip Clark Brewer talked about the tension, or more so the paradox, of servant leading, of a servant leader. I want to share with you that poem. It says this: "Strong enough to be weak, successful enough to fail, busy enough to make time, wise enough to say, I don't know, serious enough to laugh, rich enough to be poor, right enough to say, I'm wrong, compassionate enough to discipline, mature enough to be childlike, important enough to be last, planned enough to be spontaneous, controlled enough to be flexible, free enough to endure captivity, knowledgeable enough to ask questions, loving enough to be angry, great enough to be anonymous, responsible enough to play, assured enough to be rejected, victorious enough to love, industrious enough to relax, leading enough to serve." And I really like this whole picture that he gives, because it's the kind of person that I think Jesus would say, yes, you've got it. And it may feel weird, it may feel like a paradox, but it's exactly what Jesus lived and walked through. He was Lord and Savior, and He led His disciples through serving. And He asks us to do the same. You see, every one of us has someone that is looking up to us, questioning, what does it look like? What does it look like to lead a Christian life? It may be the people at the grocery store that you encounter that are just kind of fascinated by how you work through life. It may be your kids. It may be students. It may be other peers. The thing is, every one of us has someone that is looking up to us for what it looks like to lead a Christian life. Make sure you lead well. Lead like Jesus. The paradox of the servant leader needs to be evident in you. So whoever it is that is looking up to you, may they see the servant leader that Christ would smile upon. Be blessed, church family. Lead well. Love you guys.